I've got this. I've got this. Come on, officer, come on! Come on!
At 0900 on February 26, 1945, Private First Class Douglas Jacobson crouched behind volcanic rock on the western slope of Hill 382, watching the bazooka team ahead of him take fire from a Japanese 20mm anti-aircraft gun. He was 19 years old, a veteran of 3 island campaigns, and had received 0 decorations. The Japanese had fortified Hill 382 with 16 hardened positions, each designed to kill Marines in overlapping fields of fire. Jacobson had enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserve at 17, lying about his age, to join the fight. He had worked as a draftsman for his father back in Port Washington, New York, and spent summers as a lifeguard on Long Island beaches. Now he was part of Company Y, 3rd Battalion, 23rd Marines, 4th Marine Division, pinned down on the most fortified hill on Iwo Jima. The island was 8 square miles of volcanic ash and death. 5 days earlier, 30,000 Marines had stormed ashore expecting light, resistance. Intelligence had been catastrophically wrong. The Japanese commander, Lieutenant General Tadamichi Kuribayashi, had spent 8 months turning Iwo Jima into a fortress. 18 kilometers of tunnels, concrete pillboxes, hidden artillery, and Hill 382, the highest elevation north of Mount Suribachi, anchored the entire defensive system. Marines called this sector the meat grinder. The name was not metaphorical. In the 7 days since the landing, the 23rd Marines had lost nearly half their strength. Company after company had tried to take Hill 382. Every assault ended the same way. Japanese gunners waited until Marines crossed open ground, then opened fire from positions the bombardment had failed to destroy. Sherman tanks burned. Flamethrower teams died before reaching their targets. Entire squads vanished into the volcanic ash. Hill 382 rose 125 feet above the black beaches. The Japanese had carved the summit into a maze of interconnected bunkers and fighting positions. 57mm anti-tank guns commanded every approach. Machine gun nests covered the flanks. Light tanks sat buried in crevices, invisible until they fired. And at the base of the hill, a 20mm anti-aircraft gun swept the killing ground with devastating effect. Jacobson watched the 2-man bazooka team move forward. The loader carried 4 M6A3 rockets. In a canvas bag, the gunner held the launcher itself, a steel tube 4.5 feet long, weighing 13 pounds. They advanced 15 yards. The anti-aircraft gun opened fire. Both Marines went down. The bazooka fell into the ash. Company I was stuck. Without that anti-aircraft gun destroyed, the entire assault would collapse. The company had already lost 17 men killed and 26 wounded in the first 30 minutes of the attack. The Japanese defenders were invisible. Every rock could hide a rifle pit. Every depression could conceal a machine gun nest. Marines were dying without ever seeing the enemy. Jacobson looked at the bazooka lying in the open. It was designed for 2 men, one to aim and fire, one to load the rocket and connect the electrical ignition wire. Nobody operated a bazooka alone. The back blast alone could injure an isolated gunner. The weight made solo operation nearly impossible, and reloading under fire was a 2-man job. But the 2 men were dead. The anti-aircraft gun fired another burst. 3 more Marines dropped. Company I had been fighting for Hill 382 for over an hour. The Japanese position seemed impenetrable. Higher command was watching. Failure here meant failure across the entire 4th Marine Division front. And beyond Hill 382 lay the amphitheater, Turkey Knob, and the ruins of Minami Village, all bristling with enemy guns. Jacobson grabbed his rifle and moved toward the bazooka. The volcanic ash gave no cover. Japanese riflemen had clear lines of sight. One Marine had already tried to recover the weapon. He made it 5 yards before a sniper found him. Jacobson kept moving. He reached the bazooka, grabbed it. 4 rockets remained in the dead loader's bag. He slung the canvas over his shoulder and lifted the launcher tube. 13 pounds of steel, 4 rockets at 11 pounds each. 67 pounds total. And he had to run. The anti-aircraft gun tracked him. Jacobson ran. The anti-aircraft gun fired. Rounds tore through the air inches from his head. He dove behind a cluster of shattered rocks 30 yards from the Japanese position. Volcanic dust covered his uniform. The bazooka tube was hot from the morning sun. He had never fired a bazooka alone. Training taught a strict protocol. Gunner takes position. Loader inserts rocket from the rear. Loader connects ignition wire to the contact spring. Loader taps gunner's helmet. Gunner ensures backblast area is clear. Gunner fires. The process required coordination between 2 trained men working in sequence. Jacobson had no loader. He set the launcher tube on the ground, pulled one M6A3 rocket from the canvas bag. The rocket measured 19 inches long. Its shaped charge warhead contained 1.6 pounds of high explosive. 6 stabilizing fins folded against the body. He inserted the rocket into the rear of the tube until it locked. Then he pulled the coiled wire from the rocket's tail assembly and wrapped it around the contact spring mounted on the launcher. His hands moved fast. The Japanese gun crew knew someone was behind the rocks. They were adjusting their aim. Jacobson lifted the launcher onto his shoulder. The weight pulled him off balance. He braced his left hand under the tube. His right hand gripped the wooden stock trigger mechanism. The ladder sight showed graduations for 100, 200, 300 and 400 yards. He estimated the anti-aircraft gun at 80 yards. The rear of the tube was open. When he fired, the backblast would erupt behind him in a cone of superheated gas extending 15 meters. Anyone standing there would be burned, but there was nobody behind him. He was alone. He rose from cover, sighted, pulled the trigger. The electrical circuit closed. The rocket motor ignited inside the tube. The M6A3 shot forward at 80 meters per second. Fire and smoke erupted from both ends of the launcher. The recoil was minimal, but the blast wave hammered his ears. The rocket crossed 80 yards in 1 second. It struck the anti-aircraft gun's shield dead center. The shaped charge detonated. A jet of molten copper penetrated the steel at 6,000 meters per second. The warhead exploded. The gun and its 4-man crew disintegrated in a flash of orange flame. Company I started moving forward. Jacobson dropped flat. Reloaded. He worked the process backwards alone without help. He pulled the second rocket from the bag, inserted it from the rear, connected the wire, lifted the tube. The entire reload took him 40 seconds. A trained 2-man team could do it in 12. 2 Japanese machine gun positions opened fire from higher up the slope. They had been waiting for the Marines to advance. Now they cut down 3 men in the first burst. Company I went to ground again. Jacobson saw the muzzle flashes. Both guns were dug into earth-covered emplacements 70 yards uphill. The positions were invisible from the front. Only their firing gave them away. He moved right, flanking the first position. Volcanic rock gave partial cover. The machine gun tracked other targets, suppressing the main Marine advance. Jacobson reached a position 40 yards from the emplacement. He could see the barrel now, traversing left and right. He shouldered the bazooka, aimed, fired. The rocket hit the earth covering and penetrated before detonating. The machine gun and its crew vanished in the explosion. Dirt and debris rained down the slope. The second machine gun swung toward him. Jacobson was already moving. He dove behind a depression in the ground as bullets tore through the space where he had been standing. His ears rang from the bazooka's back blast. He had 2 rockets left. The second machine gun was now hunting him specifically. He crawled 20 yards left. The gun crew was trying to locate him. They fired bursts at suspected positions. Jacobson waited until they paused to reload. Then he stood, shouldered the launcher. The machine gun crew saw him. They swung the barrel. Jacobson fired first. The rocket struck the gun mount. The explosion was smaller this time, but effective. The machine gun fell silent. Jacobson saw one Japanese soldier crawl from the wreckage, wounded. A Marine rifleman from Company I shot him. 3 targets down, 13 to go. But now Jacobson faced a bigger problem. Ahead, blocking the route to the summit, stood a reinforced blockhouse built from concrete and volcanic rock. Artillery had failed to destroy it, and inside were at least a dozen Japanese defenders with rifles and grenades. He had 1 rocket left. The blockhouse sat 50 yards uphill. Its walls were 3 feet of reinforced concrete faced with volcanic rock. The structure measured roughly 12 by 15 feet. A single firing slit faced downslope, covering the approach with interlocking fields of fire from the machine gun positions Jacobson had just destroyed. American naval gunfire had hit this blockhouse repeatedly during the pre-invasion bombardment. 16-inch shells from battleships, 8-inch rounds from cruisers. The structure showed scorch marks and concrete chips, but the walls still stood, and inside, Japanese defenders waited with rifles ready. Jacobson had 1 M6A3 rocket. The shaped charge could penetrate armor, but concrete was different. The warhead would blow a hole in the wall. Whether that hole would be large enough to neutralize the position was uncertain. He needed a different solution. He moved laterally across the slope, staying low. The blockhouse firing slit faced southwest, covering the main Marine avenue of approach. If he could reach the northern side, he might find a blind spot. The Japanese had built their defenses assuming attackers would come from the beach. They had not expected a lone Marine to flank their positions from within their own defensive perimeter. Jacobson crawled 40 yards through volcanic ash and shattered rock. His uniform was black with dust. The bazooka tube scraped against stone behind him. Company I remained pinned down, taking sporadic fire from other positions higher on Hill 382. He reached the northern face of the blockhouse. No, firing slits on this side. The structure had been built into the hillside using the natural slope for additional protection, but the rear entrance was visible, a low opening barely 3 feet high covered by a wooden frame. Jacobson set down the bazooka. He still had the 1 loaded rocket, but firing it into the entrance from 10 feet away would be suicide. The backblast in the confined space would kill him as surely as it would kill the Japanese inside. He needed the rocket for something else. He pulled a fragmentation grenade from his belt. Then he picked up the bazooka again and moved to within 15 feet of the entrance. He could hear voices inside. Japanese, at least 6 men, maybe more. He shouldered the launcher, aimed at the wooden entrance frame, fired. The rocket hit the frame and detonated. The explosion blew the entrance open, collapsing part of the rear wall. Dust and smoke poured from the opening. Jacobson dropped the bazooka tube and pulled the pin on his grenade. He counted 2 seconds, then threw it through the smoking entrance. The grenade detonated inside the blockhouse. Screams, then silence. Jacobson waited. Nothing moved. He circled to the firing slit, looked inside. The interior was devastated. Bodies, rubble. The position was neutralized. 4 targets down, 12 to go. But now he had no rockets. The bazooka was useless without ammunition. He picked up his rifle and started back down the slope toward Company I's position. As he moved, he passed the bodies of the original bazooka team. The loader's canvas bag was still there. Jacobson checked it. Empty. He looked across the volcanic ash field. 200 yards back, near where Company I had started the assault, he could see the supply point, ammunition crates, medical supplies, and boxes of bazooka rockets stacked behind a low wall of sandbags. The entire area was under Japanese observation from higher positions. Mortar fire had been falling there intermittently all morning. 3 Marines had already been killed trying to bring ammunition forward. Jacobson started moving toward the supply point. He stayed low, using every depression and rock cluster for cover. Japanese snipers were active. 1 round cracked past his head. Another hit the ground 2 feet to his left. He reached the supply point, found a crate marked M6A3 rockets, pulled it open. 12 rockets inside, packed in individual cardboard tubes. He grabbed 4, shoving them into the canvas bag he had taken from the dead loader. A mortar round hit 30 yards away. Shrapnel whined overhead. Jacobson ran back toward the slope, carrying the bazooka tube in one hand and the bag of rockets in the other.